Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on intuitive AI. I'm Pam Benke, the Director of Product Marketing at Knowledge Lake, and we're thrilled to have you here. At Knowledge Lake, we specialize in helping organizations modernize their legacy enterprise content management systems. Today, we'll be diving into the exciting world of intuitive AI, sharing compelling stories and insights. But before we begin, a few housekeeping items. This webinar will be recorded and available for later viewing on demand, and you can download additional resources at the end. We encourage your participation, so please feel free to ask any questions in the chat window, and we'll address them during the Q&A session. Our speakers today are Bart Peluso, Vice President of Marketing at Knowledge Lake, and Jason Burian, Vice President of Product for Knowledge Lake. And now I'll hand it over to Bart.
Thanks so much, Pam. There's no question that we are in the age of AI. But how human has it become in 2023? Well, people measure human likeness in terms of creativity, emotion, and self-awareness. So is AI artistic? Well, in 2018, an AI-generated artwork titled Portrait of Edmund de Bellamy, which was predicted to yield about $3,000 at Christie's auction, sold for over $400,000. The artwork was created using a machine learning algorithm, and its high price is still driving aggressive debates. And I learned from my college-age daughter that AI is actually used, get this, for pickup lines. The number 2 line that was derived from an AI engine was, "Are you a camera? Every time I look at you, I smile." And the number 1 is your name, Google, because you have everything I've been searching for. Getting a little scary? Well, there is no more proven human trait than imperfectiveness. And AI can be flawed with trying to delineate a blueberry muffin from a chihuahua. Actually, the AI engine correctly classified muffins and chihuahuas 72 times out of 100. When inquired about why it failed, the AI engine responded, "I'm just having a bad day." But it's not just AI that we're going to be talking about. It's what we call generative AI. I believe generative AI, which is AI that generates responses on demand, is the most disruptive technology since the advent of the internet. That's because AI is a powerhouse when it comes to analyzing data. In fact, it can analyze more data in a minute than a human can in a lifetime. And that statistic came from the world's first AI university, which opened in Abu Dhabi in 2019. AI is more prolific than we think. Did you know that over 77% of the devices we as humans use daily are powered by AI in some form? AI algorithms have been developed to predict patients' risks in the medical field and to help doctors diagnose diseases, even identifying cancers on radiology images. As per OpenAI's GPT-3, it contains 175 billion machine learning parameters. This model can generate human-like text, solve complex tasks, and is used to create content on the fly. Let's pop the hood on AI. I'll turn it over to Jason now.
Thanks, Bart. And thanks for sharing some of that information. We've since moved on since way back in the past in November from GPT 3.5 to GPT 4, which has 1,000 times more parameters. That's 1.76 trillion parameters. So let's talk a little bit about what AI is and try and put in human language what some of these terms mean. So artificial intelligence is generally the science of making machines think like humans. It has a number of subdisciplines, which includes machine learning, natural language processing, robotics, deep learning, and there's no debate, as Bart said, that It's driving a ton of discussions in executive boardrooms all throughout the world. In fact, 96% of organizations say that they're talking about AI, generative AI, and deep learning models in their boardroom. 96% of companies. So as we go past AI into one of the subdivisions or subdisciplines of AI into deep learning, there's this sort of new term in the marketplace that we've all sort of become aware of, which is a large language model. So large language model is just that. It is a gigantic data set, GPT-4, 1.76 trillion data points based on text. It's been trained on human language. It uses things like books, websites, news media, online forums. I know that one's kind of scary, conversational data. And it's been trained on the way that humans talk and by human knowledge. And the real intent of large language models is to be able to answer questions and have conversations with a machine in the same way that humans do. And I think Bart illuminated this earlier. One of the things that makes large language models sort of a breakthrough is they have the ability to be creative. Previous AI models, you would train it, it would understand inputs and outputs, and it was sort of fixed. With large language models, we have creativity. We can ask it to, when it writes its response, to take a more serious tone or a more playful tone. We can ask it to role play and say, okay, you're the CEO of one of my competitors. What would you say to this? Or you're the CIO of this company I'm trying to sell to. What would you say to this? And that creativity is really, really new for AI. And so then the last term that we've all heard in the marketplace over and over and over again is this idea of GPT, Chat GPT, which is a product created by OpenAI. And so what does GPT really mean? GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And so let's break that down. Generative, meaning it has the ability to generate something out of nothing like a human would. It has the ability to be creative. It has the ability to create something from nothing. Pre-trained, it is built, it is already trained, it has innate knowledge, meaning it's not an infant, it's PhD level understanding of human language, grammar, words, linguistic patterns. And then transformer, it has the ability to sequence that data like a sentence, to be creative based on the knowledge that it knows, and transform that information into answers. And so, like Bart said, there's no doubt that AI is here and it's taking the world by storm and will never be changed. Here's just a quick chart of what it took some of these very well-known organizations to reach 100 million global active users in months. And so if we rewind the clock all the way back to Netflix, it took 216 months for them to reach 100 million global active users. It took Facebook 54 months, right? Multiple years to get to 100 million users, which now we look back and we go, that's ridiculous that, Facebook has billions of users. It took ChatGPT 2 months to reach 100 million global users. And that is astounding. This chart alone sort of illuminates the acceleration that we have. We look in the world of business and we survey business leaders, CTOs, CIOs around where AI can be applicable. I think, the number one thing is chatbots, right? Being able to provide customer service in real time without having to wait on the phone and talk to a human that frankly doesn't even want to be there. But if we look at a lot of the rest of these areas, it's around data, right? It's around summarizing text and automating data collection and search, which is the way that we use data, generating synthetic data for things like testing and machine learning platforms. All right. AI has a way to unlock data for tons of organizations around the world. And then finally, I thought this was interesting, which is, almost 89% of companies surveyed this year either already have a team and budget dedicated to the implementation of AI inside their organization, or they're looking to establish team. I can tell you at Knowledge Lake, we have a team of people who think about AI every day, how it applies both to our operations, how we use it in human resources and accounting and in engineering and product and in marketing, but also how we apply that to our platform to serve our customers. So with that, I'll kick it back over to Bart to talk about Knowledge Lake's intuitive AI. Oh, Bart, much like the one problem AI can't solve is you're still in mute.
Thanks, Jason. Intuitive AI refers to AI systems designed to replicate human-like intuition in cognitive processes. It aims to enable machines to interpret information in a manner that's similar to how we do it as humans, making it easier for us to interact with AI systems. Intuitive AI systems incorporate advanced machine learning techniques to process and analyze these unbelievable amounts of data, huge amounts of data. Thus, intuitive AI systems can recognize patterns, make predictions, and generate actions that align with human intuition. Quite frankly, the goal of intuitive AI, as we deploy it here at Knowledge Lake, is to bridge the gap between human and machine understanding, allowing AI systems to comprehend and respond to human needs in a very natural and intuitive manner. And this can obviously enhance various applications such as virtual assistants, customer service bots, recommendation systems, and autonomous vehicles by enabling more seamless and human-like interactions between the users and the AI systems. Now, here at Knowledge Lake, we're in the enterprise content management business and have been in it for over 20 years, starting in the early days of SharePoint. And with our platform, we see intuitive AI as a key component of content modernization and management moving forward. So we kind of break it down into these three areas. The first is the intelligent document processing, or IDP. And we refer to that as adaptive IDP, right? So first you have your ingestion, where documents come in from any source. They could be scanned in, it could be paper, it could be an email attachment, it could be email, right? And then you go through the IDP process of classification and data extraction with both AI and machine learning. Then you have the content management component, right? This is where documents are released to a repository, could be on-prem, could be in the cloud, could be through a certain application. And then users can find and edit documents using data-driven searches right there in the UI, okay? But over the past few years, we've been seeing adoption of workflow automation, whereas at the point of the content management, it kicks off a workflow, and that can include attended RPA, right? A desktop bot, a complex unattended automation involving both humans and bots, right? And that's where it interacts with other applications, and some of which are household names in the enterprise business, such as Salesforce and Workday. Well, we see intuitive AI coming across being used, right, from the classification, which it can be done automatically. AI can look and find anomalies, reclassify, call out eccentricities, all the way through the content management and into the workflow automation. It's really, really interesting the way it works, and we're going to show you that in just a moment. Okay, so here's kind of a summary of how intuitive AI works with document processing. So I remember back 100 years ago in 2018, which felt like 100 years ago, and I was at a demonstration of a document processing engine being used for automation. And traditionally, IDP was like machine learning. It was rules-based. So it would go in there and find invoice numbers. But then if an invoice came in without an invoice number and it had a purchase number or a sales number, a user manually went in there, changed that, and added a new rule. And then the engine picked up on it and it became rules-based. And then subsequently, every invoice that came from that specific vendor was then categorized, even though it didn't have an invoice number. Intuitive AI is completely different, right? It accurately extracts and summarizes meaningful information, right? So, and since we're in the document business, in our office, we are actually using it to summarize large documents. So, for instance, you can have a legal document that's maybe a page long, and intuitive AI can summarize it. Or you can have a legal document that's 300 pages long, and you can still get that summary. And it does that by identifying patterns and correlations within the content, suggesting actions and highlighting anomalies. This enables data-driven decisions for the user, but more importantly, productivity grows exponentially. All right, let's talk about some real business benefits. So and when we do have users, customers as well, as our own folks using this within our platform, they can attest to some real world business benefits. First is the advanced document understanding, right? To accurately extract and summarize meaningful information from virtually any document type, any content type, really. Accelerated setup combines the ease and simplicity of natural language with the flexibility and power of low-code development. So going back to that workflow automation, right? Setting it up becomes really easy because you have intuitive AI right there making suggestions along the way. And that leads to informed decision-making, identifying patterns and correlations within the content, suggesting actions, highlighting anomalies, enabling more data-driven decisions. And speaking personally, when I started using it, I was like, okay. But it's one of those things that once you start, you can't go back. It just becomes so easy to use, and the final thing is the enhanced search and discovery, which intelligently analyzes and tags content. So it's easier to locate that content. So we have customers that have content everywhere. It sits on-prem, it can be multi-cloud. So identifying it becomes really, really easy. Now, we can break that down to particular industries, right? I'm only going to go over a few of them here, but if you're in an industry that's not highlighted here, we can certainly talk about it offline. So like financial services, the earliest adopters of automation. For risk assessment, intuitive AI extracts relevant data from the documents, such as financial statements, loan applications, and insurance forms, which reduces errors, but also improves efficiency. More importantly, it helps with fraud detection, right? Because it can detect abnormal patterns and unusual transactions that can indicate, fraudulent activities. It analyzes the historical data to identify, potential fraud and flag suspicious activities in real time and get a user involved, to take a look at those activities. And I mentioned in the legal space, the summarization, but just looking at productivity, manual contract review and extraction of key data is extremely time consuming. So the way we've used it is to do the summary, and then you can kind of go back and spot check. But with intuitive AI, you can absolutely improve accuracy in the legal space, and exponentially increase productivity when it comes to case law summarization. Healthcare, right? Patient health records. AI-powered summarization can condense the patient health records into really concise summaries, which would help improve and accelerate clinical decision-making. But more importantly, it could be used for medical coding and billing assistance. So intuitive AI can extract relevant information from clinical documents which may be missed. An example is there's two drugs that only have two different letters, but they're completely types of different drugs, something that could be missed, which intuitive AI can find and then kind of map to appropriate coding systems. One of which is ICD-10, if you're familiar with that, which is the International Classification of Diseases, or CPT, the current procedural terminology, right? So it can flag things for physicians. It can make recommendations and most importantly, limit errors and drastically reduce them. And of course, it helps with invoice processing in the medical space. Again, with error correction during invoice processing, detecting and rectifying discrepancies in invoices so that that discrepancy doesn't carry over, right? The problem is caught at the very beginning and improvement can be made, in terms of workflow, etc. So, Knowledge Lake's intuitive AI just overall optimizes content management, it boosts productivity, and it enables organizations in any of these vertical markets to leverage their documents and their content more effectively. So we're super excited about that. And with that, I'm going to pass back one more time to Jason, and he's going to show you a bit of a demo now.
Yeah, great. I think AI can be a daunting subject, and so I know there are lots of organizations out there looking for just ways to start, places to get started. But so we're going to start with documents, and that's kind of our jam. Intelligent document processing platforms like Knowledge Lake have always been able to extract, important information from documents. So, in the case of something like invoices, vendor name, PO number, amount, those can be used later on for workflow and for reporting and for pushing data into systems and for searching. But before, there was always a very complicated rule set that needed to be programmed. The machine needed to be trained. The platform had to be told what documents were and where to find the information. With AI, there's an out-of-the-box sort of document understanding. And so the setup, the sort of day zero understanding of documents and tables, and things like loan applications, it becomes really, really, really easy when you can train the system to act like an IDP platform. When you sort of layer on Knowledge Lake's intuitive AI with some of these large language models, the acceleration, the sort of day zero understanding that you get from documents is incredibly powerful. And so for documents like this, what we refer to as structured or semi-structured documents that are sort of organized, that becomes even easier. Here's another example of a tax document. Let's talk about something that was not easy before, which is what we refer to as an unstructured document. These are documents that are free form, contracts, correspondence, letters, court documents. These are documents that are not sort of fixed in forms and have boxes and stuff like that. These are documents that are just sort of, like I said, free form. But because AI is attempting to work in the same way a human would, right? If I handed a human this document and asked you to read it, you'd pick it up and you'd be able to identify things like plaintiff and defendant and court date. And so because AI is thinking and acting like a human would, we're now able to get this level of information from these types of documents. And then, like we talked about earlier, things like summarization. Oftentimes when somebody's looking for a document, they're looking to answer a question, or they're looking to know if they're in the right place or not to go and search further. And so things like content summarization using non-legalese are really, really powerful. Here's another example of a completely free form offer letter for somebody being offered a job as a detective. And in the past, IDP platforms would have really struggled with this type of information because the information you're looking for is sort of buried in the text and it can take any form you want. And yet with AI, we're still able to get this information. And I think so. What AI does is it unlocks a number of things that when we just look at just documents and how we feed processes and we feed workflows and we feed other systems with information downstream in organization. Number one, documents can be a great place to start because for most organizations, they represent 80% of the information that you have. And so AI is this great tool that allows us to unlock that information, that data. But it's not just about sort of facts like first name and last name. It can be used to detect sentiment of a document, right? Did our customer write us a document or an email that has a positive or negative connotation? Does this document contain PII? Does this document contain a credit card number or a social security number? And then if that's true, I can route that to certain people inside of my organization for processing. So then one of the last things that we've heard a lot about from customers that we've talked about looking to get started with AI is security. And there's been lots of stories in the news. The entire country of Italy banned ChatGPT for a little bit. Apple and Samsung have banned it inside their organization because they're worried. They're worried that there's really sensitive information that somebody's going to feed into this language model, and then it's going to become part of the model. And they're going to expose their proprietary information or their customers' information to the world, which I understand. At Knowledge Lake, we've taken really strong steps partnering with OpenAI on specific services that make sure that any prompts or completion data or training data that's used in a large language model is not available to other customers. It's not available to the large language model. It's not available to the providers of those services. And we feel very passionately that these AI tools can help our customers without exposing them to any risk. And so at Knowledge Lake, all data is encrypted at rest. All data is segregated from other customers. It's under strict access control, and we do regular audits and compliance checks on all of our information. We know that the old adage that data is the new oil, and that your data is very, very valuable to you, and we take that really seriously. And so, if anybody wants to have a conversation about their data and AI, we're happy to have that. I think we can make you feel very comfortable. And so, like Bart said, Knowledge Lake has helped customers across many different organizations. There's lots of different applications to AI, both through document and workflow and document management. And we'd be happy to help you get started. A quick offer that we wanted to make to the audience of this webinar. Knowledge Lake has five spots for proof of concepts. So if you want to get started on your AI journey, we can help you on how AI can be applicable to you and your content and your information. We're going to put a link in the announcements section that'll allow you to register to sign up for that proof of concept. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Pam for questions.
Thanks, Jason. Bart, I'm sorry. Can you mute for a second? We're getting some feedback. Thanks, guys, for the great presentation. I did put in the link to the form in the announcement section. And we do have some questions that have come in. So thank you so much for participating. The first one is, are educational institutions, such as colleges, now using AI for teaching and learning? And could you provide some examples? Great question. Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I can. Higher education organizations, universities, colleges are one of sort of Knowledge Lake's strong suits. We've got a number of them across the country. And so the answer is yes. I think more than anybody, maybe financial services organizations, because they're so academically inclined, universities are on kind of the front edge of AI and how it can apply to their organization. We've seen it used in things like simple back office operational functions, like automating the paying of bills, or human resources, the hiring of people by like reviewing resumes, stuff like that. A really interesting application that I saw was in transcripts, was being able to summarize all of the information or data about an applicant, somebody wanting to enroll into a college, to be able to fast track. I think what we've heard from our universities is oftentimes the first university that gets back to an applicant has the inside track on getting them enrolled in their school. So that sort of time to turnaround is really important to them. And AI has really helped them shortcut that process.
Great, Jason. Thank you. The next question is about summarization. I know both you and Bart touched on that topic.
Yeah.
How do you achieve this summarization while avoiding hallucination?
Yeah. So along with security, we all went to school, and we would have to provide answer. You go to math class, and you get told you got to show your work, right? You got to show how you got there. And along with security, I think sort of how did AI generate that answer is often a really, really important question that people, if I'm going to trust the validity of that answer, then I need to sort of know its source. So I think it's a really excellent question. I think one of the ways that you can avoid hallucination, I told you could tell AI engines to be more creative, right? Take a serious tone or take a more playful tone. You can also, when it comes to that creativity, you can also adjust the creativity that it takes in creating an answer, right? I want you to be very, very serious about this answer and answer in factual ways. And so much like when you use ChatGPT, it's all in how you figure out the prompts. It's all in how you ask the questions the right way to reduce as much as you can those, I like the way that you put it, hallucinations. So I think that Knowledge Lake's done a lot of work in partnering with AI companies to reduce the variance of information, the creativity that they're allowed to take when I say it is allowed to take when it's answering that question. But I also will, I think you'll see in the future AI tools sort of showing their work more about, okay, here's my answer and here's how I got to it. I think just a natural trend in the marketplace, you'll see that.
Awesome. The next question, we have struggled in the past with document management tools recognizing unstructured documents in other languages. Can AI help with this?
So the answer is absolutely yes. And I think one of the reasons that you have seen challenges in the past with document management tools trying to convert languages is because it always used this technology called OCR, optical character recognition. It tried to convert the text on the page to words, right? It tried to turn an image into a Word document so that it can then translate it. But it's doing it on a character by character level, or maybe even a word by word level, and not on a contextual level. And so it would look at a word and it would see like my name, Jason, and it might read it because of quality issues, JAS0N. With AI, everything works on context. And so it knows, well, it's unreasonable that my name would have a 0 in the middle of it, right? And so I think that we've seen AI and natural language processing take major steps forward in the translation of content. And so I would be, if you've had problems in the past, we would be happy to explore that with you through this proof of concept that we offered. It's actually pretty easy for us to do. And we've seen sort of great strides using AI for that. And I think it's a great solution.
Great. The next question, I think this one's a good one for Bart to elaborate on. What steps can organizations take to ensure ethical and responsible use of intuitive AI technologies, particularly in sensitive areas like data privacy and bias?
Yeah, it's a great question and an important one. And there's organizations out there like Responsible AI that work towards different types of standards that we may see in the future. In regards to the data privacy, we kind of touched on this. It's critical to keep your data within your organization and within the appropriate group within your organization, right? And that's why we went ahead and ensured, as Jason went over, that you working with Azure, that data stays within your organization. And in terms of bias, one practice that we talked about was the way that you ask the question, in adding all the parameters and interacting with the AI engine. Anything to add to that, Jason?
No, that was great. Yep.
Thanks, Bart. The next question is, what are the potential limitations or challenges of intuitive AI, and how can organizations mitigate them to maximize the benefits of this technology?
Yeah, I think, well, Bart, I'll go first and then you can add on. AI out of the box, just sort of standard AI, you have to really be clever about the way that you utilize it. And to be perfectly candid, as great as it is, we've spent the last 40 minutes talking about how great it is, and it is. But it's not going to solve everything. And so my guidance is, if you're going to look at an AI platform, either for documents or workflow or data or whatever your use case is, ensure that it has an easy way. And when I say easy, I don't mean easy for a data scientist. I mean easy for a normal mortal, like me. An easy way to augment the AI. So when the AI finds a blind spot or a dark corner, or if it gives you an answer and it's like, that's not exactly what I was looking for, a way to augment the AI, to tune it, to refine it for your specific use case. Because in some ways it's a black box. You hand it a question and hands you an answer. And when that answer is not right, you need a way to augment that so you can still solve your problem.
Yeah, completely agree. It's terms of shaping the parameters of how your response comes in.
Great. And folks in the audience, remember, please put your questions in the chat. The next one is, what's the easiest way for a company to get started with intuitive AI?
Yeah, good question. Well, so we've offered a proof of concept today. If you're interested, join that. I think it's a great place to start. I think that documents and processes are a great place to start because they are rules based. The rules aren't always followed. People are flawed, but processes through your organization, paying a bill, hiring an employee, approving a loan, adjudicating a claim, enrolling a new student. These processes, they involve content, which is unstructured information, which AI is really good at sort of like inferring and sussing out. But they're also rules based, and so the application of that information is a great place to start. Bart, anything to add there?
I think you covered it.
Great. A couple more questions coming in. The next one is, can you talk more about the use of AI for education? Are there actual colleges today using it?
Oh, I think we answered that one.
Oh, I think this is a follow-up.
A follow-up. Yeah, so I can talk about a couple of our customers. They're using it today, but I don't know that they're using it in their actual like class and course material. The way that we interact with our universities, I can only talk about, they're using it for their back office processes. So for analyzing data, streamlining workflows and processes that involve content and documents. They're trying to merge together structured information, so like information they have in their databases and unstructured content that they have in their documents to create data lakes, and then they're using AI to ask that data questions to be able to provide insights. I'm not sure about the actual educational, course material, syllabuses, training, that kind of stuff. I don't think I could speak on.
I think students are understanding, the value of OpenAI and some of those, because I was reading a statistic that there was a decline, right, in usage as soon as school let out. So I think students are going to pick up on it from their perspective.
Great. Thank you, guys. Another question. What are some ways to detect what is AI generated content and what is not AI generated content within a document?
Yeah, so I would say this is problem number 3. So behind security, and falsifying information or not knowing the source of the information. And this would be third, which is this is AI generated content. Now, and what is and is not real. There are some tools out in the marketplace today that can attempt to. I know that OpenAI takes that very seriously about being able to mark AI generated content, but yeah, I think today it still remains a really big problem.
All right. And we just have a thank you for your comments about the use of AI for educational purposes. So I'm happy to hear that this information was helpful. I think that's it for questions at the moment. If you have any others, we're happy to follow up offline. Like I mentioned earlier, once this webinar is over, there are some materials for you to download to learn more about Knowledge Lake and intuitive AI. Jason, any last thoughts?
No, thanks. I hope everybody sees the power of AI in front of them and get creative on how it can help your organization.
Oh, sorry. There is one more question that just popped in. And since we've got a couple minutes, if we can take a look. What is cybersecurity in AI? How to protect college student from using AI?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think when you think about cybersecurity, when you think about the information that you're putting into AI, you have to pick your partner. If you're going to provide AI tools to your employees or your students, you have to be really, really careful about the partner you pick, and make sure that Knowledge Lake's done a lot of research on the information that I put into it. Where does that go? How does that reinforce the model? How is it used by the organization, so that you don't expose yourself to risk? So I think it's not an easy answer. The security aspect of AI at the moment is not an easy answer. So you have to just do your due diligence.
Great. And apparently I said my goodbyes too soon because there are more questions coming in. The next one is, where can we upload a document to be reviewed for AI generated content?
That's a great question, Aaron. I don't know, but I will do some research and see if I can find an answer for you, and we will follow up with you. I'm not sure if there's an easy answer to that question, but we will check.
Awesome. Bart, any last thoughts before we sign off here?
Just want to thank everyone for attending. We love this stuff. We love talking about it. We love integrating it into our platform, and we look forward to working with you further.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today, and have a great rest of the day.